fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Striped bass by beach and boat, black sea bass snapping along the reefs, wrecks, and snags, and of course togs still biting at the local jetties and along the bulkheads with just under 2 weeks to go before the bag limits increase in New Jersey. A lot to talk about as we turn the page into November. But for sure, the big story this week at the Jersey Shore is the announcement by the industrial offshore wind developers at Ørsted that they are done in New Jersey. Buckle up for this stormy report, my friends. Jim Hutchinson, New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. We will get to some of the fishing reports in just a few minutes, but some pretty astounding news broke this week, Halloween night actually. I wasn't quite sure personally if this was a trick or a treat, but Ørsted's board of directors has decided to cease development of the Ocean Wind 1 and Ocean Wind 2 projects off the Jersey coast, citing macroeconomic factors coupled with high inflation, rising interest rates, and supply chain bottlenecks. Just a visual reminder on screen right here to my left of what we're talking about. Ocean Wind 1 and Ocean Wind 2. Those are the two Ørsted projects. That's the company that was formerly known as Danish Oil and Natural Gas, DONG. Those lease areas are roughly off the south end of Atlantic City down off of Ocean City. Ørsted did say, quote, they have the ability, quote, to retain the seabed lease area and consider the best options as part of the ongoing portfolio review. Now, if you notice just a little bit to the north, Atlantic City up off of Brigantine and Long Beach Island, that's Atlantic Shores. That's a different developer altogether. I believe that's EDF Renewables and Royal Dutch Shell. Shell, yes, they're the fossil fuel folks. They're in wind, same as DONG. Ørsted says they're walking away from New Jersey right now, but who's to say that they can't sublet that lease to their neighbors to the north? I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works. Keep in mind, these corporations are leasing federal lands from the federal government. They pay the federal government as landlord, and then they've got to figure out how to bring all this stuff onshore inside of states, because state waters, 3 miles, right? So that's where the disconnect has been with people like Governor Murphy. But I got to tell you, got an interesting quote since the announcement was made by Ørsted, and this came from Governor Murphy himself on Tuesday night. In an official statement on Halloween, he called Ørsted's decision to pull out of their agreement outrageous. He went on to say that he and his staff are taking steps to ensure that Ørsted honors their certain financial obligations to the state of New Jersey and taxpayers. Governor Murphy, check this out, went so far as to question Ørsted's credibility. Their credibility. Governor Murphy, this is something we've been talking about for 4 or 5 years. This company doesn't have any credibility in the fishing community because they won't answer our questions, and now you've joined us. Thank you for saying this company has credibility problems. Former state chapter president of the Sierra Club in New Jersey, Jeff Tittel, a big industrial offshore wind fan, he said in response to Ørsted's announcement, quote, "These projects have been mishandled from the beginning by Ørsted. They didn't listen to the public. They do not understand our needs or our politics. They thought they would get a blank check." Well, arguably, they did get a big blank check thus far. Federal subsidies, the ability to bypass certain environmental impacts and reviews, lack of engagement with our coastal communities, fast-tracking legislation in Trenton to dig up city streets to abscond with taxpayer monies that were sent in from the Inflation Reduction Act. That said, now that Governor Murphy and wind advocates like Jeff Tittel are saying what many fishermen have been saying for the last 4 or 5 years, well, I'm not so sure I'm as extreme as you painted me out to be, am I? What happens now, of course, is a mystery. Now, I posted for friends at Facebook on Tuesday night while I was handing out chocolate to the trick-or-treaters that I was expecting to sit through a club meeting on Wednesday night in Seaside Park to hear firsthand from several Ørsted representatives to tell us what they had planned at Island Beach State Park and going through Ocean City, Great Egg Harbor, and into the Beasley's Point facility. That meeting on Wednesday didn't happen because of Tuesday's corporate announcement. As far as any of the ongoing marine survey work, a lot of folks are staying glued to the website marinetraffic.com. That's the site that tracks different vessels using the automated identification systems that big boats have to use, AIS. And as noted last week, the research vessel Henry Hudson was expected to do some high-resolution geophysical surveying between Island Beach and Ocean City. But I did not see that vessel at marinetraffic.com on Wednesday. In fact, the only one I saw working the area was a supply ship called the Josephine K. Miller. You've no doubt heard, you understand my personal and professional opinions about Ørsted in terms of how they've treated the public, how they've treated the fishing community, how they've treated anybody who's come to the table to ask some pretty good questions about the impacts of industrial wind on fisheries, on resources, on access. This foreign company has not answered any of those questions, and suddenly we're not alone in our perspectives. We will be following along with this story the more we get information on it. I have covered this extensively in the Fisherman magazine over the last 4 or 5 years. Pick up that November edition of the Fisherman magazine for more about what was happening, what was expected to happen at Island Beach State Park. The call out there, invasion, industrial invasion at Island Beach. That's the article. That's on page 24. Great cover shot, Captain Scotty Sevens, all about tautog. We've got a lot of tautog in here. But again, I've been following this for 4 or 5 years, talking about the scientific research, the impacts on our fisheries, and now we've got a brand new mystery unfolding here at the Jersey Shore with industrial offshore wind. Striped bass, that of course is the second headline. It was the first headline the last few weeks. It's back into our headlines and hopefully will be the big thing we talk about through the month of November. I think we're pretty much, I'm of the opinion, we're kind of in between those blitz conditions in central and North Jersey. Think Ocean and Monmouth County. You know, you get that first herd of buffalo running through the coast, stampeding along, and on the blitz conditions, jumbo bass, and they're still there. But it's just those blitzes that we saw for about a week and a half in North Jersey. It's as I described to a buddy of mine the other day. It's more like a mild case of hemorrhoids right now with just occasional flare-ups. That's gonna end. We're going to see monster flare-ups. Again, central North Jersey, especially when I look at the patterns from last year's action in 2022, and then take a quick look at the weather forecast for the weekend ahead. NOAA marine weather. I do think with those offshore winds, it looks southwest, a little bit of west, but with those westerlies, I think things are really going to shape up the same way as they did in November of 2022. In fact, that's the video clip that you see on the screen right now. It's from November 15th, 2022. I don't need to tell you where this is. Most of you probably know. But this should be the month, now that we're in November, when things really start to break open out along those open beaches. And again, last year it was anywhere from Sandy Hook down to Island Beach State Park. Let's hope we'll see that additionally into Atlantic and Cape May counties. Now, even if they're not blitzing, if you don't see them whitewater on the beach, those big bass are there. Guys that are putting in their time along the beaches right now are plugging them up when it's blowing onshore, it's heavy east and it's rough. Guys throwing big bucktails. But striper mayhem is exactly how Brian Evelyn put it when he emailed me earlier this week. He let me know that he and his brother were trolling and live lining on Saturday near Asbury Park amidst the fleet. Had big-bellied broomtails up around 38 inches. Brian said, quote, "Let's hope this bite continues through November." Again, Brian, I'd say it to you, I'll say it to anybody, I think we're really just starting to get started. It's just getting started here at the Jersey Shore. And when you consider all of that bait that's It's all over the Raritan Bay complex, in the Hudson complex. Water temperatures are still nice and cozy despite that first blast of fall chill anyway, I would say, this week. But there are other catches in the mix as well. Captain Akira from True World in Bayonne, he runs trips around that New York metro area. He reported on some nice weakfish on a charter last week. So yeah, that would mean then that the stripers are all around Raritan Bay again. Getting some really good reports, some picky reports, some like armada conditions on the Raritan, especially on weekends. But I'll tell you, Carlos Santos emailed me this week. He was in the back on the Raritan Bay from shore, caught this 40-incher. That was late last week. And then Nick Rowe, he was out front along the Monmouth County beaches late last week as well, plugged 3 fish from 45 to 50 inches. So yeah, those fish are all over the place. They're there. We're just waiting to see those monster blow-ups, that sustained blitz, and that's still to come. Kayakers are in the mix. They're getting into the action, and this looks to be farther south away from Monmouth County and into Ocean County. Captain Kevin Fahey of Curlew Charters, he snapped this shot of Alex Martinelli with a good striper on a kayak, which looks, like I said, farther into Ocean County. And then I've got my buddies, the DiEugenio boys, Dave and Steve. I know they head out of Barnegat Inlet. I'm pretty sure they just turned left. They went north. They got out on Saturday, sunshine, west wind, landing 4 fall run stripers over 40 inches, the biggest at 46. An early start was key as the fishing fleet was thick by 7:30 a.m. That's what they told me. And the bite was largely done by 8:30. Fish were landed on chartreuse and white mojos in 30 feet of water. Now, despite that north wind that we had on Sunday, they returned to the same location, landing 2 more 40-inch plus fish. All fish were returned safely. Another old buddy of mine, Rick Trout, got into catch and release bassing on LBI. This photo shared by the good folks at Fisherman's headquarters. That's just to show that, yeah, the fish jump the inlet. The fish are farther down along the beaches of LBI. And of course, that LBI Surf Fishing Classic is in full gear right now all the way through December 10th. Clearly, stripers starting to slide down the beaches from the northern half of the Garden State down into southern portions and hopefully into Delaware this season as well. But the bait is going to be the big variable. Right? Snagging bunker, if you don't throw a cast net, a lot of folks have used the snag rig. And in the past, you just snagged a bunker, let it free swim on that big treble hook, and you waited for a bass to bite. Snag and drop is dead. At least snagging live bunker and fishing on the weighted treble is dead. It's not good for the striped bass, and it's not good for your pocketbook anymore. It's a violation of any striper law and could get you fined. So what's the answer? Besides dragging mojos or throwing swim shads or simply transferring your snagged bunker to a circle hook? Well, some folks have been trying to figure out how to legally snag and drop bunker. We've got more this week with Jenny Ackerman and an open boat feature that looks at building a better mousetrap.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat, and today we're going to talk about breaking bad habits, the bunker snag. We got JM here, and he's going to talk about some innovation to the striper game. Surf casters are doing it, boat fishermen are doing it, and JM's going to give you the rundown on why you should start doing it.
How you doing? So, a bunch of us surf casters, basically from the Berkeley Striper Club, we're up on the beach, and we're watching guys snag and drop with those big giant lead anchors, and it's now illegal to do that. And if you want to catch a trophy fish and you're catching it on an illegal snag, you really can't even post a picture of the damn thing. So the guys from Berkeley Striper Club, Wes Darcy, came up with a circle rig, which is legal. This is a circle hook. It's a 10-0. It's tied to a loop nut. I like to use 80-pound test only because the hook sticks out like this. It's wiry and it doesn't flop around, and it's easier to snag a fish. We also put a clip, or you could put a loop on the bottom and use 2 to 4 ounces. I use 4 ounces with the big bunker because it controls the fish a little better. and it snags a little better. It gives a little weight to it. And basically when you snag these bunker, it's just the same as any other snag. You throw it into the school and you rip it through. You rip it hard. Once you feel a little wiggle, give it another rip, and that will set the hook right through the bait. And 9 out of 10 times it goes right through the bunker and in a good place. For some reason, seems like it's always in the back or in the tail, but it goes through. And the bunker stays alive longer. Doesn't have 3 hooks in it or 2 hooks in it. And it's proven it works. We caught bass on it on the beach, 30-pound class bass. Wes Dorsey's caught several bass. And I give him credit to the surf one. I started using a smaller rig, which you can make also for the peanut bunker, out of a 6-0 circle hook. And same deal, little lighter weight, and you can rip that through the peanuts as well as this. I've caught fish on this with peanuts also. So it works, and it's legal. And you could take your trophy fish and post it and take a picture of it, and knowing that you caught it legitimately.
Yesterday we were using this rig out on the boat, and it was working, snagging bunker easily, just as easy as the bunker snag. So boat fishermen and surf casters, get yourself some rigs. Grumpy has pre-tied rigs. Make your own. They're easy to make.
They have them pre-packaged here, and it's a single rig. A lot of guys are starting to invent these crazy rigs with 2 hooks and 3 hooks and double hooks. The simpler, the better in the surf, and the safer for the fish. This won't get tangled up in the bunker schools as much as a double hook one will. And you don't need all of those hooks. It's just endangering the fish even more. So I suggest the simpler, the better, especially in the surf. And what you want to do is, you got to use a stiffer line so it doesn't get tangled in the bunker's gills, because they tend to twirl. That's why I like a little heavier weight. So good luck out there. It works.
Let's stick with that striper action just for another couple of moments, shall we, as we continue down into Atlantic and Cape May County. Now, most of the better striper action remains out back, right behind the inlets, back along the sod banks. Andy at Riptide Bait and Tackle in Brigantine shared this photo from Andy Herman, proud grandpa, who put his grandson Jameson on his first keeper striper, 28¼ inches, clearly an outback striper. And that's a reminder, too, because Captain Dave at Absecon Bay, he has a big cash tournament coming up next weekend. Next Sunday, the 12th. The captain's meeting is going to be Saturday, the 11th. I will remind you again next week, but $10,000 is on the line. Some pretty big bucks for bass in the Battle of the Back Bay. You know I love alliteration. Check Captain Dave at Absecon Bay to find out all the details on this tournament. And of course, there are some fish out front as you get into Cape May County as well in the surf, though bait may be the way to go as opposed to throwing swim shads at blitzing fish. But Chris here checked in with the folks at Sea Isle Bait and Tackle earlier this week. Salted clams did the trick. Clams will do the trick as well for those black sea bass in the New Jersey, Delaware Bay region. We are up to a 15 fish bag limit in New Jersey, 12.5-inch size limit. In Delaware, it's 13 inches, but you also have the 15 fish bag. Chuck Burns here with a 4-pounder aboard the Grizzly out of Lewis Harbor Marina over the weekend. That should be a Dreamboat entry, Chuck. You should be a Fisherman subscriber. You should have brought it in to the folks at Lewis Harbor, had it weighed in, and checked in with the Fisherman Magazine's Dreamboat leaderboard. The whole contest is going on all the way through this month, and 4 pounds would have been a prize winner. For more on the Dreamboat leaderboard and who's doing what, let's check in with my buddy, producer Tim Smith.
This week, it was all about the Blackfish in the Dreamboat Challenge. We had 4 nice tog hit the board, and some points did change hands at the top of the tournament. Mark Benedetti of Pawcatuck, Connecticut started the bidding with his 7.88-pounder, landing him in 6th place. Andre Ledoux put up a good one at 8.96 pounds, landing him in 3rd place for the category. Dreamboat leader Kyle Kraus upgraded his tog from 8.2 to 8.9, but actually fell 2 spots to 4th place. And the top tog of the tournament so far belongs to John out of Huntington, New York at 10.26 pounds. The top 3 now look like this. Luke Citarelli drops a point but remains in 3rd place with 22 points. Bob Cifarelli remains in 2nd place with 24 points. And despite shaving a couple points off his leading score, Kyle Kraus sits firmly atop the leaderboard with 32 points. Look out for Andre Ledoux, who sits just outside the top 3 with 17 points and could crash the party with one more nice fish. The Dreamboat Fishing Challenge is the Fisherman subscriber-only multi-species fishing competition with a chance to win a 21-foot Steigercraft center console powered by Yamaha, along with many other great prizes. Visit thefisherman.com to subscribe and get all the details so you can be part of the action.
I've got some more striper footage coming up as the young'uns are getting into the mix, and the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council meets tonight, Thursday, November 2nd. But first, let's head west from Update in the Freshwater with my man George, the Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. Can you believe it is November already? Time is certainly flying by this year, and we're getting to the end of a really good year of fishing here, but we still have a few great weeks to go. The temperatures here have been really frosty at night. We had a couple of frosts this week, and that's really helping that temperature in those lakes and streams to really drop down. Some of these bigger lakes, we're not quite in the turnover yet. Some of the smaller, shallower lakes, they're certainly already turned over, where the surface water is already much cooler than the temperatures down, say, 20 feet or so. So looking for that. You're going to find your fish at this time of year. They're going to kind of move down to that deeper water where it is warmer than the surface temperature. They will come up in those shallows chasing bait. So there's still some great opportunities to getting out and getting on some fish. There's a real hot bite right now with the smallmouth. Tim Keeper did check in, with some more stuff on the Delaware, as he always does. He said the smallmouth bite is on fire. He's having a hard time not catching them as he goes for other species as well. But a largemouth bass, Charlie Raphael checked in. He's been out getting some largemouth, but on a black and blue jig. So that's kind of telltale. Things are slowing down. You got that slow presentation, getting it out in a little bit deeper water to get them fish. So great work there, Charles. Again, the smallmouth continue to bite. We always got those trout. It's kind of like deja vu here, guys. Kind of the same pattern week over week here as we get into that lull season. Probably in December where things will kind of slow down until we start to build some ice. But yeah, trout, you got pike, you got muskie, and even some walleye. Those cold water fish are certainly loving things right now, so get out and get on them. Guys, I hope you're getting on them. Send us those pics. But from Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
From the Pocono Mountains to the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, let's check in with Captain Ben, jackpot sport fishing at a Marina Pez Vela in Capos.
Hey there guys, how's it going? This is Ben Gilmore from here in Costa Rica and the Marina Pez Vela. Right now guys, we're gearing up for our first tournaments of the new season. We got the Dorado Derby series coming up just a little later in November. Can't wait for that one. Right now we got an insane Dorado bite going on. Most of the boats are going out there catching 15, 20 Dorados a day. It doesn't last too long. We normally get this kind of action for about 6-8 weeks a year. Kind of through November is the peak for that. So lots of fish, 10, 15, 20 pound Dorados. There's some big guys there. There's been some 30 to 50 pounders caught as well. Just the other day we're fishing, we're reeling in a 15 pound Dorado and a 300 pound marlin comes up and eats the Dorado right next to the boat. I mean, just crazy scenes. My buddy 2 days ago caught a 400 pound black marlin as well. So some species variety out there. We got yellowfin tuna further offshore, and closer to shore we got some roosterfish, snook and snappers. Guys, check us out. Ben Gilmore, Marina Pez Vela, Costa Rica.
Tonight, November 2nd, 2023, the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council will meet virtually. If you get that weekly digital edition of the Fisherman magazine, you will see there's no physical meeting in Galloway tonight. It's virtual management graffiti, if you will. Get details at thefisherman.com with a link to that webinar registration. I'm curious if the council will be discussing striped bass at all on Thursday night. I have another meeting to attend, so I'm going to have to get that update for you next week. That update to the meeting schedule was posted this week at thefisherman.com, because if you saw it posted in the Fisherman magazine, it was supposed to be in Galloway. Jeff Brust from the division called me this week just to let me know that they had a conflict, so they had to move the meeting, which we let you know about in our digital weekly edition, but you might not have seen that if you're not a $29.95 a year subscriber, where you get access behind the paywall, where you get the home delivery of the magazine, and you get to be in that Dreamboat challenge, and of course you would get to see that incredible cover of John Mingalone this week with not a regular porgy, not a scup, but a jolt head porgy. But those porgies are in the mix, especially if you sail out of the ports farther into central North Jersey. The New York boats are getting into them. So yeah, porgies in the mix with the black sea bass as well. And of course, don't forget, we've got blackfish now, and the blackfish bite in many places in the state has been solid on the jetties, right? All the jetties, the canal. And we will get an upping in the bag limits in just a couple of weeks. We'll talk more about TOG, but you can find out more about it too in that November editions. But as subscribers know, probably more so than those of you watching my video stuff each week, I have spent quite a bit of time in print trying to cover as much of the industrial wind stuff as possible, how it impacts our fishermen. Access issues, EMF issues, transit issues. There's a lot to this. And as we know from this week's lead story, the intrigue continues. But I would encourage you, this is the only place you're going to find out all the news and information that applies to our recreational fishing community in the New Jersey, Delaware Bay region, with a calendar of events, so you know everything that's going on, how to catch them, where to catch them, all of that. But Ocean Wind 1, Ocean Wind 2 are flapping in the breeze right now, but there are more foul winds blowing on the horizon. That again, I'll be following that regularly in the Fisherman magazine and right here on our YouTube page at thefisherman.com. Don't forget, folks, as I mentioned a few weeks back, and you'll see on page 6 of the November edition of the Fisherman magazine, PFDs are now required, U.S. Coast Guard approved personal flotation devices on recreational vessels less than 26 feet in length as of November 1st here in New Jersey. Many tackle shops, marinas, outfitters, they have geared up to get the right Coast Guard approved flotation device for you when you're fishing, but it's now a law and you're going to have to follow it. My thanks to Steve DiEugenio this week for showing us how it's done in his lovely Mustang vest. If you're anchored up on the TOG grounds this month, you don't need to wear it. But as soon as the anchor gets pulled up and you start to go underway, you gotta wear the PFD, the Coast Guard approved personal flotation device. That's the law. Find out the details in that November edition. Finally, folks, this week, I get a lot of photos, text, Facebook, Instagram, which I don't even look at, email, a lot of photos and videos. And I try my very best to stay on top of them. If yours didn't run in the weekly video, check the Fisherman magazine periodically to see if your photo is in there. But I must have received 24 photos and videos since last week's video, but I really enjoyed this one. Peter Piasciata. Peter, I'm sorry about botching your last name. That's what I do. Peter sent this photo in. I believe it's young Landon, reeling in a nice slot over the weekend from Raritan Bay. There were, according to Peter, 1,000 boats fishing the bunker schools over the weekend, and he does hope the bite improves. It will. But it was a great day for young Landon here, getting a slot on an umbrella rig and tuckered him out in the process. There are so many ways to score these striped bass into the month of November. Live bait, dead bait, throwing plugs, pencils, swim shads, dragging mojos, stretches, bunker spoons, umbrella rigs, dropping the flutter spoons or the Maja drift spoons. But put those young folks on the fish. It's a special time that everyone should experience the best way that you can. And especially when you're out there on the beaches. By beach or by boat, November's the finest time of year to get the whole family into the action. So I hope you saved up a few sick days. Yeah, I'm not going to be in work tomorrow. My arm's in a cast. That's one of my favorites, man. Catch him up. I'll see you again next week right here at thefisherman.com.